The wrench slipped from Maya's oil-stained fingers and clattered onto the wooden platform beneath the carousel, the sound echoing through the evening air of the county fair as she muttered a curse under her breath and reached for it again. She had been walking past the vintage carousel on her way to grab a funnel cake when she heard the distinctive grinding sound of stripped gears, saw the disappointed faces of children being turned away, and her mechanic's instincts had kicked in before her common sense could stop her. Now here she was, lying on her back beneath a 100-year-old carousel at 7 in the evening, her white tank top probably ruined, her dark hair escaping its ponytail, doing exactly what her ex-boyfriend had always complained about, fixing things that were not her problem. The fair stretched out around her in a cacophony of lights and laughter. The Ferris wheel turned lazy circles against the darkening sky, carnival barkers called out their games, and the smell of fried dough and caramel apples hung thick in the humid August air. Maya had come alone tonight, taking a rare evening off from her job at Morrison's Auto Repair to enjoy the last weekend of the summer fair. She had grown up coming to this fair every year, riding this exact carousel as a little girl, and something about seeing it broken and silent had pulled at her heart. "Miss, you really do not have to do that," a voice called from somewhere above her. "We have someone coming to look at it tomorrow." Maya rolled out from under the carousel and squinted up at an older man in worn jeans and a faded polo shirt. His face was weathered and kind, with deep laugh lines around his eyes. He looked worried, wringing his hands as he watched her. "It is just a seized bearing," Maya said, wiping her hands on her already filthy jeans. "I can have it running in 20 minutes. I have some tools in my truck." "I cannot pay you tonight," the man said, his expression pained. "The repair budget is tapped out for the season, and honestly, we have been barely breaking even this year. I was going to try to fix it myself tomorrow, but I do not know the first thing about mechanics." Maya stood and brushed the dirt off her clothes. "I am not asking for payment. This carousel is a piece of history. My mom used to bring me here every summer before she passed. I probably rode it 100 times. Consider it a thank you for all those memories." The man's eyes misted over. "That is incredibly kind of you. I am Robert Chen, by the way. I have owned this carousel for 15 years now. Maya Rodriguez." She shook his hand. "Let me grab my toolbox. This old girl deserves to run." 20 minutes later, Maya was elbow-deep in the carousel's gearbox, her portable work light illuminating the intricate machinery. She had always loved mechanical puzzles, the way everything fit together with purpose and precision. Her father had been a mechanic, and she had spent her childhood in his garage, handing him wrenches and learning the language of engines and gears. When he had his heart attack 5 years ago, she had taken over his position at Morrison's, the only female mechanic in a shop full of men who had eventually learned to respect her skill, even if they never quite knew what to make of her. "There," she said, tightening the last bolt. "Try it now." Robert pressed the start button, and the carousel hummed to life. The painted horses began their graceful rise and fall, the mirrors caught the colored lights, and the calliope music tinkled out its cheerful melody. A small crowd had gathered to watch, and they broke into applause. Children squealed with delight and rushed toward the newly operational ride. Maya felt a swell of satisfaction as she packed up her tools. This was why she loved her work, these moments when something broken became whole again, when she could see the immediate joy her skills brought to people. The money was never great at Morrison's, and her hands were always stained with grease, but she could not imagine doing anything else. "Thank you so much," Robert said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea what this means. This carousel has been in my family for 3 generations." My grandfather bought it from a traveling carnival in 1952. It is beautiful, Maya said, watching the horses spin. You have taken good care of it. I try, Robert said. Though I will be honest, some years are harder than others. The insurance alone costs a fortune, and people do not seem as interested in vintage rides anymore. They want the big thrill rides, the virtual reality experiences. But I cannot let it go. It is part of my family's legacy. Maya understood that feeling. Her father's old Chevy sat in her garage at home, a restoration project she had been working on for 3 years. Some things were worth preserving, worth fighting for, even when it did not make financial sense. Well, it should run smoothly now, Maya said, snapping her toolbox closed. But you might want to have someone do a full inspection soon. Some of those parts are getting pretty worn. I will, Robert promised. And please let me give you something. Free ride tickets, cotton candy, anything. Just keep this beautiful carousel running, Maya said, smiling. That is payment enough. She was walking back toward the main fairway, toolbox in hand, when she nearly collided with a man coming around the corner of the carousel platform. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair that fell just slightly over his forehead and eyes that were such a deep brown, they looked almost black in the fair lights. He wore dark jeans and a simple gray Henley that fit him well enough to suggest he either worked out regularly or had been blessed with excellent genes. He carried 2 cups of lemonade and had to do a quick sidestep to avoid spilling them all over both of them. Sorry, Maya said automatically, stepping back. My fault, he said, his voice low and warm. I was not watching where I was going. He paused, his eyes traveling over her oil-stained clothes and the heavy toolbox in her hand. Did you just fix the carousel? Yeah, Maya said, suddenly very aware of how she must look. It was not a big deal. Not a big deal. He shook his head, a slow smile spreading across his face. That carousel has been broken for 3 days. Robert has been beside himself. You are like some kind of mechanical angel. Maya laughed. That is definitely a first. Usually I get called other things. Grease monkey is a popular one. Then people are idiots, he said bluntly. I am Daniel, by the way, Daniel Chen. Robert is my father. Maya Rodriguez, she said, shifting her toolbox to her left hand so she could shake his extended hand. His grip was firm and warm, and he held her hand just a fraction longer than necessary. Your dad was telling me about the carousel's history. It is really special. It is his pride and joy, Daniel said. Along with his complete inability to ask for help or spend money on himself. I have been trying to get him to hire proper maintenance for years, but he is stubborn. Stubbornness seems to run in families, Maya said, thinking of her own father's refusal to see a doctor even when the chest pain started. You have no idea, Daniel said, still smiling. Look, I know my dad probably tried to give you ride tickets or something equally inadequate as payment, but please let me buy you dinner. There is a pretty decent barbecue stand on the north end, and it is the least I can do to thank you for fixing something that means the world to him. Maya hesitated. She was dirty, exhausted, and probably smelled like motor oil, but something in Daniel's expression, open and genuinely hopeful, made her consider it. Besides, she had skipped lunch and her stomach was starting to protest. I am kind of a mess, she said. You are kind of amazing, Daniel countered. And I promise the barbecue stand has very low standards for dress code. Come on, I already bought the lemonade. Well, I cannot let good lemonade go to waste, Maya said, surprised at her own boldness. She did not usually do this, did not talk to strange men at fairs, did not accept dinner invitations from people she had known for all of 3 minutes. But there was something about Daniel that felt safe, genuine. Maybe it was the way he had called her amazing without a trace of irony, or the obvious affection in his voice when he spoke about his father. They walked through the fair together, Daniel matching his pace to hers, despite her being several inches shorter. The evening had fully settled in now, and the fair lights blazed against the dark sky. Maya sipped her lemonade and listened as Daniel talked about the carousel, about growing up spending every summer at this fair, about learning to climb onto the horses before he was tall enough to reach the stirrups. "My mom used to hold me on until I was old enough to hold on myself," he said. "She passed when I was 12, but I still remember those rides. It is funny how certain smells and sounds can take you right back, you know. The calliope music, the smell of the sawdust and the machinery, it all just transports me." "My mom died when I was 16, Maya said quietly. "Cancer." "And you are right about the memories. She loved this fair. We would come every year on opening night, and the carousel was always our first stop." Daniel looked at her with understanding, not pity, which Maya appreciated. "Then you did not just fix a ride tonight. You preserved something important." They reached the barbecue stand, a semi-permanent structure with picnic tables scattered around it. The air smelled incredible, rich with smoke and spices. Daniel ordered pulled pork sandwiches and fries for both of them, waving away Maya's attempt to pay. "You fixed my family's carousel for free," he said. "The least I can do is buy you a $10 sandwich." They found a table slightly away from the main crowd, under a string of lights that cast everything in a warm glow. Maya set her toolbox under the table and dug into her food, suddenly ravenous. The sandwich was messy and perfect, the pork tender and tangy. "So you are a mechanic?" Daniel asked, gesturing to her toolbox. "Yeah, I work at Morrison's Auto Repair downtown," Maya said. "I have been there for 5 years. It is not glamorous, but I love it." "That is more than most people can say about their jobs," Daniel observed. "What made you want to be a mechanic, my dad?" Maya said simply. "He was a mechanic his whole life. I grew up in his garage learning everything from him. When he died, I took over his position. It felt like the right way to honor him, you know, to keep doing what he loved, to keep that connection." "That is beautiful," Daniel said, and he sounded like he meant it. "A lot of people would have walked away, started fresh somewhere else." "I thought about it," Maya admitted. "But there is something about fixing things, about taking something broken and making it work again. It is satisfying in a way nothing else is. Plus, my dad always said that a good mechanic is worth their weight in gold, and he made sure I was good." "I believe it," Daniel said. "You diagnosed and fixed that carousel in under 30 minutes. That is impressive." "It was pretty straightforward once I got in there," Maya said, but she felt pleased at the compliment. "What about you? What do you do?" Daniel paused, his sandwich halfway to his mouth, and something flickered across his face. "I work in business," he said after a moment. "Investments, development, that sort of thing. It is not nearly as interesting as fixing vintage carousels." "Does it make you happy?" Maya asked. Daniel considered this. "Sometimes. It is complicated. I think I always thought I would do something different, something more connected to this place, to my family's history. But life had other plans." "Life does that," Maya agreed. "My dad always wanted me to go to college, get a degree, do something he thought would be easier than turning wrenches. But this is what makes sense to me. This is where I fit." They talked as they ate, the conversation flowing easily despite them being strangers. Daniel asked about her work, seeming genuinely interested in the technical details of engine repair and transmission replacement. Maya found herself telling him about the 1967 Chevy Impala she was restoring, about the satisfaction of tracking down original parts, about her dream of one day opening her own garage where she could focus on restoration work. "Why do you not do it?" Daniel asked. "Open your own place." "Money," Maya said bluntly. or lack thereof. Do you know how much it costs to rent commercial space, buy equipment, get all the licenses and insurance? I have been saving for 3 years and I am maybe a quarter of the way there. At this rate, I will be 50 before I can afford it. Have you looked into small business loans? Banks do not exactly line up to loan money to a single-woman mechanic with no business experience and moderate credit, Maya said with a wry smile. I have tried. Turns out being really good at fixing cars does not translate into looking good on paper. The system is rigged, Daniel said, a note of frustration in his voice. People with the best ideas and the most passion often cannot get funding because they do not fit the narrow criteria banks look for. It is backwards. Yeah, well, that is life, Maya said, shrugging. I will get there eventually, just have to keep saving. Daniel looked like he wanted to say something else, but he stopped himself. Instead, he asked, "So what brought you to the fair tonight? Besides divine intervention to fix our carousel, honestly, I needed a night off. I work 6 days a week, and I spend most of my free time working on the Impala. Tonight I decided to just be a normal person for a few hours, eat some terrible fair food, maybe win a stuffed animal I do not need." She grinned. The carousel thing was not planned. Do you ever take real time off? Like a vacation, Maya laughed. What is a vacation? No, seriously, I took a long weekend 2 years ago to visit my cousin in Chicago. That is about it. That is not sustainable, Daniel said, concerned. You will burn out, says the guy who works in investments, Maya teased. I bet you work 80-hour weeks. Touché, Daniel admitted, but I am trying to be better about that. I just spent 2 weeks in Japan, completely off the grid. Well, mostly off the grid. I checked my email maybe twice a day. Twice a day is off the grid, Maya laughed. Your standards need work. Baby steps, Daniel said, grinning. They finished their food and walked through the fair some more. Daniel insisted on winning her a stuffed elephant from one of the game booths, spending far more money than the elephant was worth, but seeming to enjoy the challenge. Maya found herself relaxing in a way she rarely did, enjoying the simple pleasure of walking through the fair with someone who seemed to genuinely enjoy her company. When they passed the carousel again, Robert was overseeing a group of delighted children climbing onto the horses. He spotted them and waved, his face breaking into a wide smile. Maya waved back, feeling that warm satisfaction again. He looks happy, she said. Happier than I have seen him in months, Daniel said. You really did something wonderful tonight, Maya. They stopped near the Ferris wheel, the massive structure turning slowly above them. The fair was starting to thin out, families with young children heading home, though plenty of teenagers and couples remained. I should probably get going, Maya said reluctantly. I have an early shift tomorrow. Someone is bringing in a transmission rebuild at 7. On a Sunday, Daniel said. That is dedication. That is small business, Maya corrected. We take appointments when we can get them. Daniel pulled out his phone. Can I get your number? I would really like to see you again. Maybe somewhere without corn dogs and carnival games, though I make no promises about the quality of my company without fair food involved. Maya felt her heart do a small flip. Yeah, she said, trying to sound casual. I would like that. They exchanged numbers, and Daniel walked her back to her truck, an old Ford F-150 that had seen better days, but ran like a dream because Maya kept it in perfect condition. He waited while she put her toolbox in the back, and there was a moment of awkwardness as they stood there in the parking lot, neither quite sure how to say goodbye. Thank you for dinner, Maya said finally. And for the elephant. Thank you for fixing the carousel, Daniel said. And for letting me monopolize your evening. It was a good evening, Maya said honestly. Better than I expected when I woke up this morning. Same, Daniel said. He reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers just barely brushing her cheek. "Drive safe, Maya." "You too," she managed, her skin tingling where he had touched her. She drove home in a daze, the stuffed elephant sitting on the passenger seat beside her. Her apartment was small and cluttered, every surface covered with car parts or tools or restoration manuals for the Impala. She took a long shower, scrubbing the oil and dirt from her skin, and fell into bed with her phone in her hand. A text came through just as she was drifting off. "It was good meeting you tonight. I was not kidding about wanting to see you again. Are you free for dinner this week?" "Somewhere without sawdust, I promise." Maya smiled at her phone and typed back, "Wednesday. I get off at 6. His response came immediately, perfect. "I will pick you up at 7. Send me your address." She sent her address and set her phone on the nightstand, feeling something she had not felt in a long time. Hope, maybe, or possibility. The sense that something unexpected and wonderful might be beginning. The next few days crawled by with agonizing slowness. Maya threw herself into work, replacing brake pads and rotating tires, and diagnosing a mysterious engine knock that turned out to be a loose bolt. Her co-workers noticed her distraction. "You have checked your phone like 50 times today," said Tommy, one of the other mechanics. "You got a hot date or something, maybe," Maya said, wiping her hands on her coveralls. Well, Tommy said, grinning. "About time. You have been married to that Impala for way too long." "The Impala does not leave its socks on the floor or forget to call," Maya shot back, but she was smiling. Wednesday finally arrived. Maya left work at exactly 6, drove home at possibly illegal speeds, and spent the next 45 minutes trying to figure out what to wear. Her wardrobe consisted mainly of work clothes and ratty casual clothes for working on the Impala. She finally settled on a simple navy dress that she had bought for a cousin's wedding and rarely wore, paired with sandals and a denim jacket. Daniel knocked on her door at exactly 7, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. He was dressed in dark slacks and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, and Maya had to remind herself to breathe. "Hi," he said, his smile widening as he took her in. "You look beautiful." "Thanks," Maya said, accepting the flowers. "Let me just put these in water." She found a vase under her sink, arranged the flowers quickly, and grabbed her purse. Daniel's car turned out to be a sleek black Tesla, all clean lines and modern technology. Maya ran her hand over the hood appreciatively. "This is nice," she said. "How does it drive?" "Like a dream," Daniel said. "Want to take it for a spin after dinner, really?" Maya's eyes lit up. "Really," Daniel confirmed, looking amused. "I have a feeling you will appreciate it more than most people." He took her to a small Italian restaurant tucked into a converted house on the outskirts of town. The ambience was intimate without being stuffy, with candles on the tables and soft jazz playing in the background. They were seated at a corner table and Daniel pulled out her chair before sitting down across from her. "This place is great," Maya said, looking around. "How did you find it?" "I have been coming here for years," Daniel said. "The owner is a friend. The food is incredible, I promise." He was right. They shared bruschetta and capre salad, then Maya had the homemade ravioli while Daniel ordered the osso buco. The conversation flowed as easily as it had at the fair, ranging from childhood memories to favorite movies to strong opinions about the best pizza toppings. "Pineapple on pizza is a crime against nature," Maya declared. "I will die on this hill." "Even with jalapenos to balance the sweetness," Daniel challenged, "especially with jalapenos. That is just confusion in food form." Daniel laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Okay, what about this?" "What is your most controversial food opinion?" Maya thought for a moment. "I think ketchup is disgusting." What? No, you are breaking my heart right now. It is too sweet. It overpowers everything. Give me hot sauce any day. I do not know if I can be seen with someone who hates ketchup, Daniel said, shaking his head in mock dismay. What will people think? They will think you are dating a woman with refined taste, Maya shot back. Dating, Daniel repeated, his eyes meeting hers. I like the sound of that. Maya felt her cheeks warm. Yeah, Daniel said softly. Maya, I know we just met, but I have not stopped thinking about you since Saturday. There is something about you that is just so real, so genuine. It is refreshing. I do not really know how to be anything else, Maya admitted. I am not good at games or pretending to be someone I am not. Good, Daniel said. Do not ever change that. After dinner, Daniel let her drive the Tesla, and Maya felt like a kid on Christmas morning. The car handled beautifully, the acceleration smooth and powerful. She drove them through the winding country roads outside town, the windows down and the night air rushing past. This is amazing, she said, reluctantly pulling back into the restaurant parking lot. I could get used to this. Consider it yours whenever you want, Daniel said. I have another car. Of course you do, Maya teased. Let me guess, something equally expensive and impressive. Just a BMW, Daniel said, and Maya could not tell if he was joking. He drove her home and walked her to her door. The night was warm and clear, and Maya was acutely aware of how close he was standing, of the way the porch light caught in his dark eyes. I had a really good time tonight, she said. Me too, Daniel said. Can I see you again? Maybe this weekend. I work Saturday, Maya said. But I am free Sunday. Sunday it is, Daniel said. How do you feel about hiking? There is a great trail about an hour from here, or we could do something else if hiking is not your thing. Hiking sounds perfect, Maya said. I never get outside enough. Daniel stepped closer and Maya's breath caught. He cupped her face gently in his hands, giving her plenty of time to pull away, then kissed her softly. It was sweet and unhurried, and Maya felt it all the way down to her toes. When they pulled apart, she was smiling. That was nice, she said, feeling like the words were inadequate but not having anything better. Yeah, Daniel agreed, his thumb stroking her cheek. Really nice. He waited until she was safely inside before leaving, and Maya leaned against her door, touching her lips and feeling like a teenager again. Her phone buzzed. I am already counting down to Sunday. She texted back. Me too. Over the next few weeks, Maya and Daniel fell into an easy rhythm. They saw each other several times a week, working around Maya's schedule at Morrison's. Daniel seemed endlessly flexible with his time, which Maya attributed to him being in business for himself. They hiked the trail he had mentioned, where Daniel proved surprisingly outdoorsy and knowledgeable about local flora. They went to movies and tried new restaurants and spent a whole Saturday afternoon working on the Impala together in Maya's garage. Hand me the socket wrench, Maya said from under the car, and Daniel passed it to her without hesitation. He had been a surprisingly good assistant, asking questions and seeming genuinely interested in learning. How did you know it was the fuel pump? He asked. Process of elimination, Maya said, her voice slightly muffled. The engine was getting spark and air but not fuel. Pump was the most likely culprit. Got it. Pull me out. Daniel grabbed her ankles and gently pulled her out from under the car. She was covered in grease and grinning. Try starting it now, she said. Daniel turned the key and the Impala roared to life with a deep, throaty rumble. Maya whooped with joy, throwing her arms around Daniel's neck despite being filthy. That sound never gets old, she said. You are incredible, Daniel said, holding her close. You know that, right? I just fixed a fuel pump, Maya said, embarrassed. You just brought a piece of history back to life, Daniel corrected. That is different. He kissed her then, slow and deep, And Maya forgot about the impala and the grease on her hands and everything else except the feeling of being in his arms. Things were going almost too well, Maya thought sometimes. Daniel was thoughtful and kind, always remembering little things she mentioned in passing. He brought her coffee when he picked her up from work, the order perfect down to the amount of cream. He listened when she talked about her day, asking follow-up questions and remembering details. He made her laugh and challenged her thinking and kissed her like she was precious. But there was something he was not telling her. Maya could feel it sometimes, a hesitation when she asked about his work, a quick change of subject when she pressed for details. He had told her he worked in investments and development, but he never mentioned where, never talked about clients or projects or any of the specifics that would normally come up in casual conversation. "You work from home?" she asked one evening as they were cooking dinner in her tiny kitchen. "I realized I have no idea where your office is." "I travel a lot," Daniel said, focusing intently on chopping vegetables. "I am actually based in New York, but I work remotely most of the time." "New York," Maya said, surprised. "What are you doing here then? Just visiting your dad?" "Something like that," Daniel said vaguely. "I am here for a few months working on some local projects." "What kind of projects?" "Just some property development stuff," Daniel said. "It is pretty boring, honestly, not nearly as interesting as what you do." Maya let it go, but the question nagged at her. Why was he being so evasive? She Googled Daniel Chen Investments that night but came up with nothing useful. The name was too common, and without more information, she could not narrow it down. Maybe she was overthinking it. Maybe he was just a private person. But the small voice in the back of her mind kept whispering that something did not add up. 2 months into their relationship, Robert invited them both to dinner at his house. It was a small ranch-style home filled with photographs and Carousel memorabilia. Robert cooked an elaborate Chinese meal and they ate family-style around his kitchen table. "This is delicious," Maya said, helping herself to more kung pao chicken. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "My mother taught me," Robert said. She insisted all her children know how to cook properly. She said it was an essential life skill. "How many siblings do you have?" Maya asked Daniel. "Just one," Daniel said. "My older brother, James. He lives in Seattle with his wife and kids." "And he managed to escape the family business," Robert said with a fond smile. "He is a doctor. I am very proud of him, even if he does not appreciate vintage carousels the way he should." "Someone has to be the practical one," Daniel said. "I got the impractical gene." "Impractical," Robert scoffed. "You have built an empire, Daniel. That is not impractical." Maya saw Daniel shoot his father a warning look, but Robert seemed oblivious. "An empire?" Maya asked lightly. "That is a strong word for an investment business." "Robert exaggerates," Daniel said quickly. "I have done okay for myself, but it is hardly an empire." "You are too modest," Robert said. "Maya, do you know that Daniel is one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the country? He started his first company when he was 23 and sold it 5 years later for $40 million. Now he runs a venture capital firm that invests in startups and small businesses. He has helped hundreds of companies get off the ground." The room went very quiet. Maya set down her fork carefully and looked at Daniel, who had gone pale. "A millionaire," she repeated slowly. "You are a millionaire." "Maya," Daniel started, but she held up her hand. "Excuse me for a moment," she said, her voice eerily calm. She stood and walked out the back door into Robert's small garden. Daniel followed her immediately. "Maya, please let me explain." "You are a millionaire," Maya said again, turning to face him. "We have been dating for 2 months and you never thought to mention that you are a millionaire." "It never seemed like the right time," Daniel said. "And honestly, it does not matter. It does not change who I am." does not matter. Maya's voice rose. Daniel, I have been talking to you about my dreams of opening my own garage someday, about how I am struggling to save money, about how banks will not loan me anything. Meanwhile, you could probably write me a check right now for the full amount and not even notice it missing from your bank account. That is exactly why I did not tell you, Daniel said urgently. Because I knew you would see the money instead of seeing me. Everyone does, Maya. Every woman I have ever dated, every friend I have ever made, once they find out about the money, everything changes. They start seeing me as a wallet instead of a person. But you did not know, and you liked me anyway, and it was the most real thing I have experienced in years. So you lied to me. I did not lie, I just did not tell you everything. That is the same thing, Maya said, her eyes stinging with tears. God, Daniel, I told you I do not do games. I do not do pretending. And that is all this has been for you, apparently. Some kind of social experiment to see if someone would like you without knowing about your money. That is not fair, Daniel said. My feelings for you are completely real. The money has nothing to do with us. How can you say that? Maya demanded. The money has everything to do with us. You live in a completely different world than I do. You drive a Tesla and probably own multiple houses and can take vacations to Japan. I drive a 15-year-old truck and live in a cramped apartment and have not taken a real vacation in years. We are not on equal footing here, Daniel. We never were. So what? So you only want to date someone who makes exactly what you make, someone who understands your struggle. That is ridiculous. No, I want to date someone who is honest with me, Maya shot back. Someone who trusts me enough to tell me important things about themselves. You have been lying to me for 2 months. I was protecting what we have, Daniel said desperately. Maya, please, I love you. I did not tell you that either because it seemed too soon, but I love you. You are the first person in years who has seen me as just Daniel, not Daniel Chen the millionaire. Do you know how rare that is? How precious? Maya felt her heart crack. I love you too, she whispered. That is why this hurts so much. Because I thought we had something real, something honest, and now I do not know what was true and what was part of your act. It was all true, Daniel said, reaching for her hands. Every moment, every conversation, every kiss. The only thing I kept from you was the money, and I was going to tell you. I was just waiting for the right time. When? Maya challenged. When were you going to tell me? After we got married? After I made even more of a fool of myself talking about my financial struggles to someone who probably spends more on wine in a month than I make. You are not a fool, Daniel said firmly. And your dreams matter, Maya. The fact that you are working so hard to achieve them on your own makes you incredible. I did not tell you because I did not want you to feel like I was judging you, or worse, like I could just swoop in and solve all your problems with a check. You deserve to achieve your dreams on your own terms. But you were never going to let me do that, were you? Maya said, realization dawning. Eventually, you would have offered to help to invest in my garage to make it all easy, and then I would be beholden to you, dependent on you. That is not a partnership, Daniel. That is a power imbalance. I would never make you feel beholden, Daniel said. If you wanted my help, it would be freely given, no strings attached. You do not get it, Maya said tiredly. This is not about the help or the money. This is about trust. You did not trust me enough to be honest about who you are. And without trust, we have nothing. She walked back toward the house. Daniel caught her arm gently. Please do not leave like this, he said. Let's talk about this properly. I need time, Maya said. I need to think. This is too much, Daniel. She went back inside, apologized to Robert for cutting the evening short, and called a rideshare to take her home. Daniel did not try to stop her, though the look on his face as she left would haunt her dreams. The next few days were miserable. Maya threw herself into work with even more intensity than usual, staying late to organize the tool room and taking on overtime shifts she did not need. She ignored Daniel's calls and texts, not because she did not want to talk to him, but because she did not know what to say. Tommy finally confronted her on Friday afternoon. "Okay, what happened? You have been a zombie all week." "Nothing," Maya said. "Bull, you only deep clean the shop when something is wrong, so what is it? Did the date guy turn out to be a jerk?" "Not a jerk," Maya said, setting down the wrench she had been absently polishing. "Just a liar." "What did he lie about?" "Everything," Maya said. "Who he is, what he does, his whole life basically. Turns out he is some millionaire venture capitalist, and he just conveniently forgot to mention it for 2 months. Tommy whistled. "A millionaire? Damn, that is not the worst problem to have, you know." "It is when he does not trust you enough to be honest about it," Maya said. "I told him everything about me, Tommy. Everything. My past, my dreams, my fears, all of it. And he just kept this massive secret because what? He wanted to see if I would like him without the money. It is insulting." "Or maybe he has been burned before," Tommy suggested. "Rich people have problems too, you know. People probably do treat them differently. So he gets to lie to protect himself, and I am just supposed to be okay with that." "I am not saying you should be okay with it," Tommy said. "I am just saying maybe there is more to it than you think. The guy seemed pretty gone for you that time he picked you up from work. People do stupid things when they are scared of losing something important." Maya knew Tommy had a point, but it did not make her feel better. The hurt went deeper than just the lie. It was about what the lie represented, the fundamental inequality between them, the fact that Daniel could have solved her biggest problem with what amounted to pocket change for him. On Saturday night, Robert showed up at her apartment. Maya almost did not answer the door, but Robert was persistent. "I am not here on Daniel's behalf," Robert said when she finally let him in. "He does not know I am here. I came because I need to apologize." "You did not do anything wrong," Maya said. "I am the one who told you about the money," Robert said. "I did not realize Daniel had not told you. I thought you knew. I am sorry for putting you both in that position." "It would have come out eventually," Maya said, sinking onto her couch. "Better now than later." Robert sat in the armchair across from her. "Can I tell you something about my son? When Daniel was 25 and sold his first company, he was on top of the world. He had more money than he knew what to do with, and suddenly, everyone wanted to be his friend. Women threw themselves at him. Old acquaintances came out of the woodwork asking for loans or investments. It was overwhelming." "I can imagine," Maya said quietly. "He dated a woman for about a year," Robert continued. "Melissa, beautiful, charming, seemed completely smitten with him. Daniel was ready to propose. Then he found out she had been stealing from him, funneling money to her actual boyfriend on the side. She was only with Daniel for the money." Maya winced. "That is awful." "It broke something in him," Robert said, "made him suspicious of everyone's motives. He went through a phase where he only dated women in his own social circle, other wealthy people, figuring they would not be after his money. But those relationships never worked either. Everyone in that world is playing games, jockeying for position. He was miserable. So he decided to lie to me instead. He decided to give himself a chance at something real," Robert corrected gently. "Maya, I have never seen my son as happy as he has been these past 2 months. He was not playing a game or conducting an experiment. He was trying to protect something precious. Maybe he went about it the wrong way, but his heart was in the right place." "I do not know if that makes it better or worse," Maya admitted. "Think about it this way," Robert said. "If he had told you on that first night at the fair that he was a millionaire, would you have gone to dinner with him?" Maya opened her mouth to say yes, then stopped. Would she have? She probably would have assumed he was showing off or slumming it with the local mechanic for entertainment. She definitely would have been more guarded, less herself. Maybe not, she said finally. Daniel was not lying about who he is, Robert said. He is still the same man who wanted to thank you for fixing my carousel, who drove you around in his car and helped you work on your Impala. The money does not change his character, Maya. It is just something he has. But it changes everything, Maya said. The dynamic between us, the way people see us, the possibilities for our future. How am I supposed to maintain my independence when he could swoop in and solve all my problems? How do I know if I am succeeding on my own merits or because I am dating someone with connections and capital? That is up to you, Robert said simply. Daniel would never force his help on you. If you told him you wanted to achieve your dreams completely on your own, he would respect that. He is not trying to rescue you, Maya. He just loves you. After Robert left, Maya sat in her apartment for a long time thinking. She pulled out her phone and finally read through all the messages Daniel had sent over the past week. I am so sorry. Please let me explain properly. I understand you are angry. I should have told you sooner. I was wrong. I miss you. Whatever you decide, I just want you to know that everything between us was real. The last message had come that morning. I love you, Maya. That is the only truth that matters to me. But I will respect whatever you need. Maya stared at her phone, tears blurring her vision. She loved him too, that was the problem. This would be so much easier if she did not love him, if she could just write him off as a rich guy playing games. But she knew Daniel, knew his kindness and his humor, and the way he looked at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. The money did not change those things, but could she get past the lie? Could she build a relationship with someone who had hidden such a fundamental part of themselves? She spent Sunday working on the Impala, losing herself in the familiar work. She replaced the spark plugs and adjusted the timing, and when she started the engine and heard it purr smoothly, she thought about what Robert had said. About how the money did not change who Daniel was. On Monday evening, Maya texted Daniel, "Can we talk?" His response came within seconds. "Yes." "When and where? Your place. I want to see where you live. I will be off work at 6. I will send you the address." The address turned out to be a modern apartment building downtown, the kind with a doorman and a sleek lobby. Daniel met her in the lobby, looking nervous and hopeful. "Hi," he said. "Hi," Maya replied. He led her up to the penthouse apartment, and Maya tried not to react to the sheer luxury of it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The furniture was clearly expensive without being ostentatious, and the open floor plan made her entire apartment look like a closet by comparison. "Can I get you something to drink?" Daniel asked. "I have wine, beer, soda, water, pretty much anything." "Water is fine," Maya said, setting her bag down. They sat on the couch, carefully maintaining some distance between them. Daniel handed her a glass of water and waited. "I have been thinking about what you said," Maya started. "About why you did not tell me about the money. And I have been trying to understand your perspective." "Maya, I am so sorry," Daniel said. "You were right. I should have told you sooner. I was scared and selfish, and I hurt you. That was never my intention, but I did it anyway." "I know," Maya said. "I believe that. But Daniel, I need you to understand why it hurts so much. It was not really about the money itself. It was about the fact that I was completely vulnerable with you and you were holding back. That does not feel equal. It does not feel like a partnership." "You are absolutely right," Daniel said. "I was holding back because I was scared. Scared that if you knew, you would see me differently. Scared that you would want me for the wrong reasons, or worse, that you would resent me for having advantages you did not have. But that was not fair to you. You deserved honesty from the beginning." "I do not want your money," Maya said firmly. I need you to understand that. I am not interested in being taken care of or having my problems solved by your bank account. I want to build my business on my own, using my own skills and hard work. That is important to me. I completely respect that, Daniel said. And I promise I will never try to push money or help on you. If you want advice or connections, I am happy to offer them. But your success will be yours, Maya. I would never try to take that from you. Okay, Maya said, nodding. Okay, I can work with that. Does that mean you are willing to give me another chance? Daniel asked, hope blooming on his face. I am willing to try, Maya said carefully. But Daniel, no more big secrets. If there is something important about your life, I need to know. Even if you are scared of how I will react, especially if you are scared of how I will react, that is what trust means. No more secrets, Daniel promised. I will be an open book. Ask me anything and I will answer honestly. Okay, Maya said. Tell me about your business. What exactly do you do? Daniel took a breath. I run a venture capital firm called Chen Innovations. We specialize in investing in early-stage companies, particularly ones owned by women and minorities who have trouble getting traditional funding. I invest in about 20 to 30 companies a year, providing both capital and mentorship. The goal is to level the playing field for people who have great ideas but do not fit the typical Silicon Valley mold. That actually sounds amazing, Maya said, surprised. It is the most fulfilling work I have ever done, Daniel admitted. After I sold my first company, I could have just retired, lived off the money. But I kept thinking about how lucky I was, how many people never get the opportunity I had. So I decided to use my resources to create opportunities for others. Why did you not tell me this before? Maya asked. This is not something to be ashamed of. This is incredible. Because I did not want you to feel like I was showing off, or worse, like I was going to pressure you to let me invest in your garage. I wanted you to see me as just Daniel, not Daniel the investor who could fund your dream. I can see you as both, Maya said gently. You are complex, Daniel. The money and the business are part of who you are, just like being a mechanic is part of who I am. You do not have to hide pieces of yourself to make me comfortable. I am learning that, Daniel said. I have spent so long being guarded that I forgot how to just be myself with someone. Maya moved closer to him on the couch. I get it, I do, but we have to be honest with each other even when it is scary. That is how this works. I can do that, Daniel said, reaching for her hand. Maya, I meant what I said before. I love you. I have never felt this way about anyone. You are smart and talented and genuine, and you make me want to be better. I do not want to lose you. I love you too, Maya said, squeezing his hand. That is why I came here tonight, because what we have is worth fighting for, but it only works if we are both all in, both vulnerable, both honest. All in, Daniel agreed. Whatever you need from me, I am here. They kissed then, soft and sweet, and Maya felt the tension that had been coiled in her chest for the past week finally release. They had a lot to figure out still, but they would do it together. Over the next few months, Maya and Daniel built their relationship on a new foundation of honesty and trust. Daniel was true to his word about not pushing his money on her, even when Maya knew it must have been hard for him to watch her struggle with things he could easily fix. When her truck broke down and she had to borrow money from her emergency fund to fix it, Daniel offered sympathy and a ride to work, but did not suggest buying her a new vehicle. When she lost a bid on a piece of equipment she needed for the Impala restoration, he commiserated, but did not offer to find her another one. But he did share his life with her more fully. He took her to a gala for one of his portfolio companies, and Maya bought a dress she could not really afford and felt completely out of her element among the wealthy donors and startup founders. Daniel never left her side. introducing her to everyone as his girlfriend who was a brilliant mechanic. And Maya slowly relaxed as she realized that many of these successful people were genuinely interested in her work. "I am fascinated by restoration work," said a woman who apparently ran a chain of hotels. "The skill it takes to bring vintage machinery back to life is incredible. I tried to restore a motorcycle once and gave up after about a week." "It takes patience," Maya agreed. "And you have to be willing to problem solve. Things never go according to plan." "That is like running a business," the woman said. "Nothing ever goes according to plan." Maya also met Daniel's brother James during a visit from Seattle. James was warm and funny, and his wife Sarah immediately pulled Maya aside to tell her how happy they were that Daniel had found someone real. "He has dated some truly awful people," Sarah confided over wine. "Women who saw him as a walking ATM or who wanted the prestige of dating someone successful. You are the first person who seems to actually see him." "He is not hard to see," Maya said. "He is kind and smart and treats me like an equal. Why would not I see that?" "Because a lot of people get blinded by the money," Sarah said. "But I can tell you are different. You are good for him." Maya introduced Daniel to her own friends, a small, tight-knit group of mechanics and car enthusiasts. They were initially suspicious of the rich boyfriend, but Daniel won them over by asking genuine questions about their work and not acting superior. When one of Maya's friends mentioned struggling to get a loan for his own shop, Daniel offered to review his business plan without being asked. "I am not promising anything," Daniel said, "but I know people who might be interested in investing. Let me take a look and see if I can help." 2 months later, Miguel had his funding and his shop. He tried to thank Maya, but she redirected him to Daniel. "He is the one who helped," she said. "I just made an introduction." "You brought him into my life," Miguel said. "That is help enough." In November, Maya finally had enough money saved to start seriously looking at commercial properties for her garage. Daniel helped her review leases and contracts, but left the final decisions to her. When she found a perfect space, an old garage that needed significant work but had good bones and a great location, Daniel went with her to the inspection. "This place is great," he said, walking through the empty bays. "I can see exactly what you are envisioning." "It needs a lot of work," Maya said, her mind already calculating costs. "New lifts, updated electrical, permits for the paint booth. I have enough for the first 6 months of rent and some basic equipment, but the renovations are going to have to wait. Can I make a suggestion?" Daniel asked carefully. "Not as your boyfriend, but as someone who invests in businesses for a living." "Okay," Maya said cautiously. "You should consider taking out a small business loan for the renovations. Yes, it is debt, but it is an investment in making your space functional from day one. If you have to wait 6 months to afford a paint booth, that is 6 months of business you are losing. The loan payments will be easily covered by the additional revenue." Maya considered this. "I really wanted to do this without debt." "I understand that," Daniel said. "And it is your decision entirely. But sometimes strategic debt is good business. It allows you to grow faster and serve more customers. You just have to make sure the numbers make sense." "Would you help me run the numbers?" Maya asked. "Of course," Daniel said. They spent the next week building out a detailed business plan. Daniel introduced her to a loan officer at a bank that specialized in small businesses, and Maya presented her plan with confidence. A week later, she got the approval. Morrison's Auto Repair was sad to see her go but supportive of her dreams. They threw her a small party on her last day, and Tommy presented her with a custom-made sign that read Rodriguez Restoration. "For your new place," he said. "You are going to be great, Maya." "I learned from the best," Maya said, hugging him. Opening Rodriguez Restoration was the scariest and most exhilarating thing Maya had ever done. The first few months were rough, with more expenses than she had anticipated and fewer customers than she had hoped. But Daniel had been right about the strategic debt. Having a fully functional shop from day one allowed her to take on bigger projects, and word started to spread about her work. Her specialty became vintage car restoration, particularly American muscle cars from the 60s and 70s. She had a gift for tracking down rare parts and bringing old engines back to life, and soon she had a waiting list of clients. 6 months after opening, she hired her first employee. 9 months after that, she hired 2 more. Daniel was there for all of it, celebrating her victories and supporting her through the setbacks, but always letting her maintain her independence. He never pulled strings or made calls on her behalf without her permission. When she was featured in a local magazine article about successful women entrepreneurs, he framed the article and hung it in his office. For their first anniversary, Daniel took her back to the county fair. They rode the carousel together, and Robert took their picture as they sat side by side on the painted horses. Afterward, they walked through the fair eating funnel cake and playing games, just like they had on their first date. "This is where it all started," Daniel said, stopping near the Ferris wheel. "You fixed my father's carousel, and I fell in love with a woman who was covered in grease and more interested in gears than impressing anyone." "I was not trying to impress you," Maya said. "I had no idea who you were." "That is why I fell so hard," Daniel said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "Maya Rodriguez, you are the most genuine, talented, stubborn, wonderful person I have ever met. You see me for who I really am, not what I have. You have built something amazing through your own hard work and skill. You inspire me every single day to be better, to be more honest, to appreciate what really matters." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring with a single diamond. "Will you marry me?" Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "Yes," she said. "Yes, of course yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as the Ferris wheel turned above them and the fair lights blazed against the night sky. Around them, people applauded, though Maya barely heard them. All she could focus on was Daniel, on the future they were building together, on the journey that had started with a broken carousel and led to this perfect moment. They got married the following summer in a small ceremony at Robert's house, with the carousel visible in the distance. Maya wore a simple white dress and carried sunflowers, while Daniel wore a dark suit and could not stop smiling. Robert officiated, his voice breaking with emotion as he pronounced them husband and wife. The reception was casual and fun, a barbecue in Robert's backyard with their combined circle of friends and family. Miguel and the other mechanics from Rodriguez Restoration showed up in matching shirts that said Team Rodriguez. Daniel's business associates mingled with Maya's car enthusiast friends, and everyone seemed to genuinely enjoy themselves. "You did good," Sarah told Daniel, watching Maya laugh with a group of her employees. "She is special." "I know," Daniel said. "I am the luckiest man alive." Maya and Daniel bought a house together, a mid-century modern with a huge garage where Maya could work on personal projects. Daniel converted one of the bedrooms into a home office, and they fell into an easy domestic rhythm. They cooked together, watched old movies, and spent weekends working on cars or hiking local trails. Rodriguez Restoration continued to thrive. In their 3rd year, Maya landed a contract to restore a fleet of vintage cars for a private collector, the kind of project that established her reputation nationally. She hired more staff and expanded into a second bay. Daniel helped with the business side when she asked, but mostly just cheered from the sidelines, proud to watch her succeed. 2 years after their wedding, Maya discovered she was pregnant. They had talked about children in abstract terms but had not been actively trying, so the news came as a happy surprise. Daniel immediately went into planning mode, researching cribs and car seats and baby-proofing supplies. "We have 9 months," Maya laughed. "We do not need to do everything today." "I want to be prepared," Daniel said, his hand resting on her still flat stomach. "I want to be the best dad possible." "You will be," Maya assured him. "You are already amazing at everything else." Their daughter, Elena Rose Chen Rodriguez, was born on a sunny October morning. She had Daniel's dark eyes and Maya's determination, making her preferences known from day one. Daniel was completely smitten, taking paternity leave from his business to be home with Maya and the baby. "I cannot believe we made this," he said one night, watching Elena sleep in her bassinet. "She is perfect." "She is perfect because we are good together," Maya said, leaning against his shoulder. "We balance each other out." Life settled into a new normal. Maya went back to work part-time when Elena was 3 months old, bringing the baby to the shop sometimes and letting her employees take turns holding her. Elena seemed to enjoy the sound of the tools and the smell of motor oil, which Maya took as a good sign. When Elena was 2, they decided to expand their family again. Their son, Michael James, arrived 3 years after his sister, completing their family. Michael was quieter than Elena but equally curious, and both children grew up spending time at Rodriguez Restoration, learning to hand their mom tools and asking endless questions about how things worked. Daniel's business continued to grow as well, and he became known as one of the most successful and ethical investors in the industry. He never forgot where he came from, always making time to visit Robert and ride the carousel that had brought him and Maya together. The carousel became a family tradition. Every year on their anniversary, they would take the kids to the fair and ride it together, remembering the night Maya had fixed a broken piece of machinery and changed both their lives forever. Robert remained a central part of their lives until he passed away peacefully in his sleep at 82. They scattered his ashes near the carousel, and Daniel worked to ensure the vintage ride would be preserved for future generations. He created a trust that would maintain it, honoring his father's legacy and the love story it had sparked. By the time Elena was in high school, Rodriguez Restoration had 3 locations and a national reputation. Maya had achieved everything she set out to do, building a successful business through her own skill and hard work. She occasionally partnered with Daniel on investments, providing expertise when his firm was considering funding automotive-related businesses. But their professional and personal lives remained mostly separate. "We work because we respect each other," Maya told Elena one day when her daughter asked about relationships. "Your dad could have tried to take over my business or treat me like I needed rescuing, but he never did. He saw me as an equal partner, and that made all the difference." "That is what I want someday," Elena said. "Someone who sees me for who I really am." "You will find it," Maya assured her. "Just make sure you are fully yourself from the beginning, no secrets, no holding back. That is the only way it works." On their 20th anniversary, Daniel took Maya back to the fair one more time. The carousel had been beautifully maintained, looking exactly as it had the night they met. They rode it together, just the 2 of them, as the painted horses rose and fell, and the calliope played its cheerful tune. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you had not stopped to fix this carousel that night?" Daniel asked, his arm around her shoulders. "Sometimes," Maya admitted. "But I think we would have found each other anyway. Maybe not that night, maybe not that year, but eventually. Some things are meant to be." "I am glad it was that night," Daniel said. I am glad I got to spend all these years with you, building a life, raising our kids, supporting each other's dreams. It has been the greatest adventure of my life." "Mine too," Maya said, kissing him softly. "Here is to 20 more years." "At least," Daniel agreed. As they walked back through the fair, hand in hand, Maya thought about the long journey that had brought them here. The initial spark of attraction, the painful revelation about Daniel's wealth, the conscious choice to build trust and honesty. The wedding, the children, the businesses they had each grown. The compromises and communication and constant effort to see each other clearly, to love each other fully. It had not always been easy. There had been arguments about money and priorities, stress about balancing work and family, moments when they had to consciously choose to be vulnerable instead of defensive. But they had built something real and lasting, something that honored both of their strengths and dreams. The Carousel had been the beginning, but it was their daily choice to love and trust each other that made the story worth telling. Maya had fixed a broken carousel for free that night, not knowing the owner's son was a millionaire. But more importantly, not knowing that the man watching her work with grease-stained hands would become her partner, her love, her home. That a simple act of kindness would lead to a lifetime of joy. That was the real magic, Maya thought. Not the money or the success or even the grand romantic gestures. It was the everyday choice to be honest, to be present, to build something beautiful together. It was the way Daniel still looked at her after 20 years like she was the most fascinating person in the world. It was the way she still felt that flutter in her chest when he walked into a room. It was the life they had created, full of love and laughter, and the kind of deep contentment that only came from truly knowing, and being known by another person. As they drove home that night, Alina and Michael asleep in the backseat after their own evening at the fair, Maya reached over and took Daniel's hand. He squeezed back, and they shared a smile that held 20 years of history and the promise of many more to come. The carousel would keep turning, the painted horses would keep rising and falling, and somewhere out there, other people would make their own memories on its weathered wooden platform. But for Maya and Daniel, it would always be the place where their story began, where a mechanic and a millionaire found something more valuable than money or status or success. They found each other, and that made all the difference. Years continued to pass in a blur of graduations and holidays and quiet evenings at home. Alina went to college for mechanical engineering, following in her mother's footsteps, but in her own way. Michael pursued business, showing an early aptitude for numbers and strategy that reminded everyone of Daniel. Both children grew into confident, kind adults who valued hard work and authenticity, lessons they had learned from watching their parents build a life together. Maya eventually stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Rodriguez Restoration, handing the reins to her longtime employees while she focused on consulting and teaching. She started a program for young women interested in automotive careers, providing mentorship and training to the next generation of mechanics. Daniel supported the program financially, but it was Maya's vision and expertise that made it successful. Daniel himself became more involved in philanthropy, using his wealth to fund educational programs and small business initiatives across the country. He and Maya often worked together on these projects, combining their different skills and perspectives to create meaningful change. On their 30th anniversary, their children planned a surprise party, gathering friends and family from throughout their lives. Robert's Carousel had been temporarily relocated to a local park for a restoration project, and the party was held near it, bringing their story full circle. 30 years ago, Mom fixed a broken carousel and met Dad, Alina said in her toast. And ever since then, they have shown us what real partnership looks like. They have taught us to be honest, to work hard, to follow our dreams, and to never stop choosing each other. Mom and Dad, thank you for being the best example of love we could have asked for. Maya and Daniel stood together, surrounded by the people they loved, the carousel gleaming in the evening light behind them. They were older now, with gray in their hair and lines on their faces, but the way they looked at each other had not changed. There was still that spark, that deep understanding, that sense of coming home. "I love you," Daniel said, pulling Maya close. "Thank you for stopping to fix that carousel. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for building this beautiful life with me." "I love you too," Maya said. "Thank you for seeing me, for respecting me, for being my partner in every sense of the word. I would do it all again in a heartbeat." They kissed as their friends and family applauded, and the carousel's calliope music drifted through the air, playing the same cheerful tune it had played on that fateful night 3 decades ago. The painted horses stood frozen now, waiting for their next ride, but in Maya and Daniel's hearts, they would always be in motion, rising and falling in that timeless dance, marking the beginning of a love story that would last a lifetime and beyond.